Hey, everybody, it's Bondalyn Jolly, and thanks so much for tuning in to today's casual conversation. We're doing it a little bit different today. As you can see, I have two guests today. I have Frank Chimeno, who is our VP of Brokerage Development at Elevate, and I have Julie Vanderblue, who is the broker owner and team leader at the Vanderblue team. And so it's unprecedented times. Clearly, there's a lot of instability and a lot of questions in our market. And Frank, you work with our brokers all across the United States. You know, what you've got your finger on the pulse of what's happening inside of brokerages. Tell us a little bit, you know, what are some of the trends and things that you're seeing across the US right now?
Yeah. So, and you know, it's interesting. I was talking with one of my colleagues that also works with brokerages, Mike Martella, and we both, you know, the word that we came up with was, you know, the industry right now, the brokerages, they're shell shocked. I mean, right now, everybody is a little bit shell shocked. Everybody is trying to kind of hold tight and figure out what in the world's going on. But the one common denominator that I can tell you from a brokerage perspective, and even from some large team leaders, is there's a very big kind of wait and see attitude going on right now. People are sort of trying to figure out, because we don't know what the end, we don't have an end in sight. We don't know when this thing is going to end and things are going to normalize. We don't know what that looks like. And so a lot of our customers and a lot of brokerages are, you know, they're making moves to cut staff. They're making some layoffs, and they're all kind of sitting in and sitting tight. And so one of the concerns that we have and the conversations we're having is, hey, just keep in mind that whatever that time frame is, you want to make sure you're keeping the wheels moving in some way, shape, or form now. Because the last thing we want to do, if this thing takes 90 days or 120 days, we don't want to start marketing or start our messaging again or start the prospecting again 120 days from now, because that's just going to prolong the opportunity for revenue to come in the door. So we're trying to work through and talk through with folks on, you know, this wait and see. I just got sucker punched and I don't know what to do, with what should you be doing right now, and you really don't want to waste a lot of time figuring it out. I don't know if that makes sense. Julie, is that similar to what you guys are expecting? And by the way, Julie, thanks so much for taking time to do this with us. It's super powerful. Julie is the president of the Higgins Group, and also the team leader and owner of a really powerful team in Connecticut. And Julie, really appreciate having you on here just to talk about, you know, what has this done for you? Is shell shock the right word?
Yeah, and thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here. And yeah, shell shock is pretty appropriate right now. The agents everyone's just kind of not sure. They're personally upset for their families, and they don't know what's happening with their careers, and buyers, everyone's unsure. So I would definitely think shell shock is a good word. And to your point, you know, strategic planning right now more than ever, and being there for each other. You know, the wait and see attitude has to be taken down. You cannot wait and see what happens. We have to really look deep at what our value is. Whenever we have a SWAT analysis that we do every year. I like to do it quarterly, but whenever there's a change in the industry or something happening in the industry, we do a SWAT analysis, and what are our strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats, and we really analyze how to strategically plan. And now more than ever, we have to do that, and we can dig deeper into that. But we also have a Zoom meeting that I think one thing I want to point out is really connectivity is really important now. We're all isolating. So the Zoom meeting or whatever, or whatever it is, we have doubled down on our meetings. We have our team meeting that we're synergy. We go around and we all check in and see how we're doing. We have our team trainings. We're communicating, honestly, probably more now than we did before, as far as really being together. And it's such an important part of not isolating, but also creating accountability and just getting yourself motivated to take the next step and actually implement some of the ways that we can work in such an unfamiliar waters right now, by communicating with each other, holding each other accountable, helping each other, saying, that's a really good idea, let's do this, because everything's shifted. But where there's change, there's opportunity and growth to be helpful, to increase your value. And that's what I think everyone has to focus on.
You know, Julie, you said, oh, go ahead, Bondalyn, go ahead.
I know we're both like, oh, she said so many things I want to talk about. So, you know, Julie, transparency is such a key factor in a time of crisis like this. And, you mentioned using Zoom meetings. It was interesting, Frank, last week, you and Familiarity, were part of a webinar, and we actually polled over 600 agents across the United States. And I was so shocked that only 17% of the agents actually, raised their hands and said that they were actively using video conferencing, whether, within their office, with their brokers, with their teams, as well as with their audience. And that just blows me away, because I think this is my new norm here is, this level of video conferencing. And so is that a shift that you guys have had to make? Have you always used Zoom and video conferencing, or is that something new you're introducing to your agents?
We've used it when we were talking to, when we'd have a webinar, but it was always when we were in training with someone else or communicating with someone else. We never used it within our own team, which in hindsight, wow, what a great tool that we will be using moving forward. Like, I'm a little bit of an opportunity junkie and trying to find the positive in absolutely every situation. I think, there's no good in what's happening, but if we can find the benefits of where this will take us as human beings, as business owners, as teammates, we can increase the value that we bring to our buyers and sellers, because nobody wants to leave their house. And if we don't know how to video conference appropriately, we're missing FaceTime with the people that we need to connect with. We need to embrace this technology and teach the people that we're communicating with how to do it without fear. And if we're not using it ourselves, then we're not able to bring it to our clients. So we're using it much more than we used to.
That's a great point. And Julie, you said something, and I wanted to touch on. You talked about familiarity and how this is all unfamiliar, and it brings two things to mind. Number one is, and super excited, and thank you for agreeing to do this. But next week, we'll tease a little bit now, but next week, next Wednesday, you and I are actually going to spend an hour together diving deep into some of the activities, some of the instructions that you're giving and talking with your agents about. We're going to do that. But here's what I wanted to ask you. You've been in this industry a long time. This is not the first market shift you've been through. And so when you talk about it being unfamiliar, it's like, and I'm throwing this out to you. We didn't talk about this ahead of time, but what's different about the shift this time? What's different with it, or is it different this time? Because you've been through this now, 08, all of that. You've been through that, and you guys are just absolute pillars of your community in your area. So you've been through it, you've bounced back, you've come back stronger than ever. Why is it so different feeling this time?
I think because of the fear, honestly, the fear that the buyers are feeling of, not being able to leave their homes. Can they see a house? Will my buyer be able to perform? Will the bank? There's just so many unknowns that are just blowing people's minds when it comes. It's a different than when the market crashes and values go down. This is just there's so many unknowns.
Right.
But that said, people are buying homes, and I happen to be in Connecticut. So Connecticut is a feeder from New York, and we happen to have a lot of people wanting to come from New York to Connecticut. Right. So rather than focusing on how we can target market, and you have to be really, really careful with messaging. So in different when there's not as much fear as far as worldwide, you can market a little more heavily. Right now, we want to message support. We want to bring the value to them because it can be very misinterpreted that we're just trying to get new business when actually we want to help. So rentals are in really high demand. So being able to message that we can help people secure short-term rentals in the interim, and that's not something we would normally go after, nor would we necessarily want to go after, but it's helpful. So I think there's no difference in what I do to plan. My SWAT analysis. How can we bring value? What can we do? What strategies can we shift to fill the needs of these people? What's different is the needs are different because people don't know what they're doing. We have a whole virtual program with a 9-step program for people that want to look virtually and how we can navigate through that. We've never done that before. So it's business, it's not business as usual. It's business completely different, but the needs are still there and the fear is there. So we have to navigate through that fear so that we can touch them in a way that they don't feel. Our real estate industry doesn't have the best reputation for being as helpful without trying to get business. Right now, we have an opportunity to prove to the public that we are here to help, that we can bring, and if we really think about it and plan it, we can do it without being disingenuous.
Yeah, and what I hear you saying, Julie, is it sounds like you're really focusing not so much from a marketing perspective, but from a messaging. I like the way you put that, from a messaging standpoint, to really be able to not just talk about or explain it, but to demonstrate with empathy. Is that the right way to say it? Is, that we really are here to help and provide a solution to people that have a legitimate need.
Absolutely. And target messaging is exactly what I talk to my team about. We have divisions in and the only way to really get people to pay attention to you is through their own needs. So creating messaging to a market of people who have whatever their fear is or whatever their need is, we can help them, but we have to, the database is a huge part of creating a database where you're tagging people and able to send a message to the right people instead of just broadly sending out a message that doesn't speak to the people that you're sending it to. So being really careful with your database. This is a perfect time to go through your database and carefully, because I don't know how many people have thousands of people in their contact list and their database list that they're not appropriately reaching. They're not appropriately messaging. The messaging that they're trying to get across is not. Now is the time to do that. Now is the time to really work on your database, really work on all of your contact lists. So to your point, the message that you're sending gets in front of the right people.
Yeah, that's great. And Bondolin, I'm so excited to hear her say that, because and I'll let you talk about some of the information, the details leading up to it. But next week, Julie's going to share with us her SWAT analysis. She's going to share what she's doing with regard to cleaning up databases. And you mentioned something, off the webinar earlier, that she's got different messaging going out to different segments of the audience, whether it's elderly or whatever. So Julie, thanks again so much for just jumping on our casual with us. And Bondolin, thanks for setting these up. You do such an awesome job with helping us get the word out. And I don't know if you've got any more information or details yet on the whens and the wheres of when we're going to have Julie for a whole hour diving into specific practical advice.
I do. And yes, thank you both for joining in today. The fact is, we really want these casual conversations to be very tactically focused. And Julie, you just crammed so much amazing information into about 10 minutes. And I'm so excited, though, that next week we're really going to get to expand on that. So like Frank said, really looking at what you're doing with SWOT analysis with your agents, and really some tactical, in the trenches advice for our audience. And what's going to be exciting, too, is a week from now, the atmosphere is going to change, we're literally going day by day. And so you're going to be able to really share, exactly what is happening in real time with you and your audience, and your agents. So thank you. So next week, Wednesday, April 1st, April Fool's Day, the webinar will be at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific time. All of the details are actually in the description of this casual conversation, and we'll be sharing that out across our social channels at TryElevateRE as well. So make sure that you tune in next Wednesday on April Fool's Day with us for a deep dive with Frank and Julie. Thank you both so much. Everyone, thanks for dialing in today. Stay safe, stay home, stay quarantined, and we'll see you on April Fool's Day.
Godspeed.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.